On 16th of April 2017, a referendum in Turkey for the first time in almost 100 years gave one man the power to personally appoint or dismiss ministers, select judges, and rule by decree if he deemed it necessary. Not since the fall of the Ottoman Empire has a Turkish leader enjoyed such powers. That man lives in a 1,000-room palace called the Aksaray or White Palace that is bigger than India's Rashtrapati Bhavan, the White House of the United States of America, or the Kremlin of Russia. The man vested with the powers told thousands of flag-waving supporters that for the first time in the history of the Republic, we are changing our ruling system through civil politics. There may not be many democracies around the world where he would be welcome today. But on 1st of May 2017, the President of Turkey landed in India on an official state visit. He was accorded a welcome reserved for the heads of state. But Recep Tayyip Erdogan, a person of interest this week, set the cat amongst the pigeons when days before his arrival in India, he commented that Kashmir could be solved through multilateral negotiations, and he offered himself as an intermediary to speak with Pakistan. When the Turkish president landed in India, the Ministry of External Affairs was ready with India's response to Erdogan's mistimed comment.
He is very close to Pakistan. Okay, so if he can make statements like this, this is proof of that. He cannot be a great ally of India. He will always go with Pakistan, whatever we may do. In fact, I feel that he has used the India visit to legitimize his own position. This was his first major visit after the referendum, and a major country like India receives him. That legitimizes his position. But he will not come on when if it comes to the crunch, whether it is NSG or any other forum, he will always go with Pakistan. So politically, I don't see much overlap. And to cap the whole thing, I don't know that why did Jamia Millia have to give him an honorary doctorate? And I'm sure the MEA, it was on MEA's advice. Irony is that a university is giving him a doctorate, but in his own country, he's closed on 14 universities. His human rights record is appalling.
The apparent coolness between the countries could have been a fallout of New Delhi's seemingly provocative gesture of inviting Cyprus President Nikos Anastasiadis just days before Erdogan, and Vice President Hamid Ansari's unannounced visit to Armenia. Cyprus and Armenia are two countries that Turkey doesn't maintain diplomatic ties with. Despite the Kashmir comment, this visit to India by President Erdogan went off well. But the Intelligence Bureau, looking at the threat perceptions, was not taking any chances. President Erdogan's aircraft was guarded 24/7. As a special case, even his personal security officers were allowed to carry arms at all times. It is no wonder, because President Erdogan does have many enemies, including the ISIS, and for good reasons. In July 2016, Recep Tayyip Erdogan went from almost losing control of his country to becoming untouchable. A military coup against him failed as Erdogan's supporters came out on the streets across the country. Tanks were stopped midway, soldiers were disarmed, as waving the national flag, the common people of Turkey ensured that Erdogan retained power. Nine months later, Erdogan turned the country from a parliamentary to a presidential republic, scrapping the post of the Prime Minister and consolidating his hold. With the referendum on 16th of April 2017, a narrow margin of just over 51% opted for a presidential form of government, granting in effect sweeping powers upon President Recep Tayyip Erdogan.
He gradually became more authoritarian, although there was a parliamentary system of government, his authoritarian tendencies started coming to notice. When he came to power, Kemalism was still strong in Turkey, but he gradually started purging Kemalist officers and people who believed in Kemal Atatürk's legacy. He gradually started purging them from the system, from the ruling system, and replacing them with people who had Islamist leanings. In a de facto sense, he has concentrated a lot of the powers in his hands. And the biggest irony is that today, two of Turkey's biggest supporters, the United States and the European Union, have very bad relations with Turkey.
Recep Tayyip Erdogan came from a very humble background, but step by step over the years, he grew in stature in the feisty politics of Turkey, till a point came when in the 94-year-old republic, he became the most powerful man ever. Born in 1954, the son of a coast guard, Erdogan grew up on Turkey's Black Sea coast. When he was 13, his father moved to Istanbul to give his 5 children a better upbringing. It was there that Erdogan spent his teenage years. In the 1960s, to earn extra cash, he had to sell lemonade and simit, the popular ring-shaped bread. But it was in the 1970s that Erdogan got interested in politics. While studying business administration at Istanbul's Marmara University, he first joined the National Turkish Student Union and later an Islamist party led by the conservative politician Necmettin Erbakan, who later became the Prime Minister in 1996. In March 1994, Erdogan got elected the mayor of Istanbul. He banned alcohol sales in some of the city's cafes. Turkey's political elite saw this as a sign of Erdogan wanting to Islamicize the society.
It is the first impact on him was his Islamist views, his ideology that he believed in. And I think it was during the war on Afghanistan, and then we had the Islamist and Al-Qaeda activity there, and what we call the jihadist culture started there. He was quite active actually. He was quite active along the Hekmatyar lines and also the Afghani Arab Mujahideens. And he was seen in many of the pictures that he was an Islamist who was influenced by the pan-Islamic views, and he has worked quite hard in his career to influence and to gain popularity. So the man is he is a strong believer on the Islamic views, and he feels that it is because of the Ottoman Empire has collapsed, and then they had the new modern secular Turkey under Atatürk, that he should revive the Sultanate. So if I may call him the new Sultan or the new Khalifa of the Arab and Islamic world. That's how he sees himself, because he look at himself beyond the border of Turkey, and that's why he based his popularity on the Islamic credentials.
In 1998, Erdogan was convicted for inciting religious hatred because of a poem he'd read out at a political rally. Convicted, Erdogan was forced to give up his post of the mayor of Istanbul. The conviction also meant that he could not stand for the upcoming parliamentary elections. In August 2001, Erdogan and some others formed a new political party, the Justice and Development Party, or AKP. The stated objective of the new party was to open up Turkey to Europe and the world.
Well, I think the indication was quite since his AKP party took over, that there is a clear inclination toward Islamization of Turkey and away from the secular, because there are strong wave within Turkish society that they didn't like, they're an Islamist, they believe in their religions very strongly, and they feel that the secular outlook of the country did not give the right things to their own people, their rights.
On 3rd of November 2002, the AKP, in a dramatic upturn, swept to victory in the national elections. One month later, the Turkish parliament revoked the ban on Erdogan that had prevented him from fighting elections. In February of 2003, Recep Tayyip Erdogan took over from Abdullah Gül to become the Prime Minister of the Republic of Turkey. One of the first acts of parliament under Erdogan was to evict US forces stationed on Turkish soil. America's war on terror had just begun and the US needed Turkey. A quid pro quo was worked out. US was allowed to use Turkish airspace, and in return, the US let Turkish forces enter Kurdish areas of northern Iraq. It gave Erdogan the excuse he needed to stifle Turkey's own Kurdish rebels in the south. Seen as charismatic and driven, Erdogan's supporters swelled in numbers. As Prime Minister, he had almost single-handedly brought economic and political stability to Turkey.
He had done lots of work for the economy. Everybody knows there was a pumping of monies, that the economic rate was improved. The Saudis pumped enough money, the Qataris have given him enough monies, and he also took advantage of the regional conflict. Actually, he started his policy like, everybody sympathized with the Palestinian cause. So the moment the Palestinian cause is there, he is in the forefront showing that sympathizing with that Turkey refused to give the Israelis an independent state within Palestine during the Ottoman era. So therefore he's the continuation of the same policy despite that he's rejecting. In fact, he had the strongest relation with Israel, and everybody knows that. So that is one of his issues. The second issue where he had in the economy that he has improved, that he had a good relation. He started a good, zero problem with neighbors, and he started that he wanted to open. In fact, he had the 10 years honeymoon with President Bashar al-Assad. So he knows where to move, how to move.
In May 2006, a lone gunman opened fire in Turkey's highest court, killing a prominent judge and wounding 4 others. Large protests followed. The shooting was perceived as an Islamic fundamentalist attack. Within a month, Erdogan's parliament passed a new draconian anti-terror law. In April 2007, mass protests broke out again. Tens of thousands of supporters of secularism rallied in Ankara. They didn't want Erdogan to run for president. The protests succeeded. The AK party put forward Foreign Minister Abdullah Gül as its candidate. The Erdogan-controlled parliament pushed through the presidential elections despite an opposition boycott. The matter went to court, and the court ruled that the elections were unconstitutional. Once again, there was political instability in Turkey. the military began to flex its muscle, declaring itself an absolute defender of secularism. Erdogan, in a surprise move, called for early elections.
In the past, the Turkish army has played the role of the custodian of Kemalism. And whenever it thought that Kemalism was in danger, it has, effected a coup and overthrown governments.
He is in power since 2003 and he may be staying, if he remain alive, till 2023. So is it really this is the democracy that the Europeans have been seeing they wanted in Turkey? No. But because of his closeness to Russia and the worry that if the rapprochement between Turkey and Russia come together, I think not only the Western European will be worried, the Eastern European country will be worried.
Now today, many senior EU officials themselves say that Turkey can simply forget about EU membership. And because Turkey has also been blackmailing Europe over the question of Syrian refugees. Now, I am not saying the EU is innocent, because the EU countries are also involved in this whole misadventure. It's just that they think that Erdogan may have outlived his utility. That's all. I mean, they don't have permanent friends or permanent, enemies. They will go with their interests.
In the years to come, Erdogan's pet peeve would be the military, the journalists, the judges, the free press. All this and more after the break. July 15th, 2016. Army tanks and military jets descended on the streets of Istanbul and Ankara. Fighter jets could be heard buzzing overhead. And a sense of unpredictability settled over the two cities. Civilians noticed soldiers outside their homes, but had no idea that they were witnessing a coup attempt by a section of the military. It soon snowballed into a full-blown crisis when state-run television networks were shut down. President Erdogan was on vacation at the Aegean coast. In a desperate attempt, he made an appeal to his countrymen via FaceTime to hit the streets. For the first time since the foundation of Turkish Republic in 1923, the people managed to stand up to the tanks. Over the decades, 4 coups had succeeded. Erdogan ensured a 5th did not. While support poured out into the streets following his appeal, hundreds of thousands gathered chanting his name. Observers believed that there was much more to it than what brewed on the surface.
He actually escaped being assassinated very narrowly. And actually the effect of that coup has been disastrous for Turkey. There are many people who think that there could be another coup attempt, because he has made a lot of enemies. There are many enemies, both internally and externally, because those who were your friends, your United States and EU, even they have turned against him. And he has accused he has officially accused the United States of being behind the coup last year.
If you are in love with Erdogan, you say he is innocent, he is a victim. If you are against him, you say he is the one behind it. I think we need to wait for some time. If I'll take two scenarios: if the coup has failed or if the coup has succeeded. Now, if the coup have succeeded, I wouldn't have seen Erdogan and his henchmen in the power. They would have been inside jail or being killed. That was the issue. Turkey wouldn't have any problem because maybe we can gag, the democracy will have impact because army is back in power. That's one. The second part, the coup did not succeed. But who are the sole beneficiaries? I mean, look at the sole beneficiaries. Who is Erdogan and his government? Is Erdogan and his men in the street? Army is suffering. Politicians are out. Opposition is gagged. Academy institution is being closed. Then who is the beneficiary? So can you tell me? I mean, I don't believe in coincidence.
People claiming to speak for the military said the army was in charge of the country, accusing the government of Erdogan of eroding Turkey's secular traditions. On the morning of 16th of July, Erdogan landed in Istanbul, determined to prove that the coup had failed and that he was still in charge.
So when he took the coup over, he knew that there was an investigation for his involvement in the war in Syria. There was an investigation for the coup, why the coup happened and how it happened. He wanted to gag, he wanted to close this investigation because we all know that his son was making $10 million out of the IS oil, selling from Iraq and Syria on a week basis. And that is why I've said the trends for the future of Turkey's stability is not in a safe hand. No matter how you see it, no matter whatever it's a democracy or he is popular or unpopular, that's not the issue. The issue here is the country at stake. By gagging the opposition, by not allowing investigation, by appointing your own judge, that means you are having an agenda which you do not want the rest of your public to know about it.
The effect of the coup has been, unambiguously negative in my view. It has done damage even to Erdogan because he has made many enemies in Turkey itself. I mean, you have incidents like the Russian ambassador to Turkey being assassinated, killed. You know, bombs exploding. There is a huge terrorism problem. There was no terrorism there. Now some people avoid flying through Istanbul because the airport sometimes is closed because of these things.
After the coup, Turkish official media stated that 249 people had been killed in the attempt. Erdogan came down hard on those who he believed to have conspired against him. Till date, more than 100,000 people have been detained, close to 50,000 of them arrested and thrown into jails. Amongst them, 168 army generals, more than 2,500 judges, close to 180 media organizations have been shut down and 2,700 journalists dismissed, 131 of them in jail.
Some people think that he is a megalomaniac. Erdogan, his temperament is like he wants to be called Sultan Erdogan, as a Sultan of the Ottoman Empire.
His wave started after the invasion of the American on Iraq. After that, he saw the changes happening in the ailing Europe. He saw the changes in the Islamic world. They are looking for a leader. There is somebody they should look for. So he thought himself he is really the one who can give them that vacuum, and he can fill up that vacuum with his own status. So he felt that he started gradually getting into the influence not only in his own country, in many of the Arab countries. And if you look at his visits, he used to shuttling visit among the Arab world, it was a clear indication that he had an eye on Mosul, he had an eye on Aleppo in Syria, he had an eye on Egyptian, because Egypt is a strong Arab, it was under the Ottoman time. With Syria, he said Syria and Turkey comes together. So influence of his Islamist wave started with the 2000 onward. And especially with the atrocity I come with the Israelis on the Palestinian. It was all a staged kind of things to make him a popular leader among the Islamists, and he said he is the one. He put his hand with the Islamic movement, he put his hand with the International Islamic Union that is run by Qardawi from Qatar, an ailing scholar. So all these religious traders, I call them, have joined hands together to exploit the religion for their own, because the mass in the Arab and Islamic world wanted somebody to follow as a true believer in God and in religion. And unfortunately, none of them, including Erdogan, is a true believer.
In the 9 odd months that have passed since the coup attempt, Recep Tayyip Erdogan has become more powerful than ever before. And with the referendum of April 2017, he has got the official stamp of the people, sanctifying his power. After the referendum, the changes in Turkey's constitution comes into effect from 2019. And theoretically, President Erdogan can remain in office till 2029. Now, if towards the second half of his presidency, the parliament calls for snap elections, his presidency can be extended till 2034. So it is no wonder that Modi has been taking no chances, and he is not willing to sour India's relationship with Turkey even after that uncalled for comment on Kashmir.